There comes a moment in every soul's journey where the spiritual realm refuses to remain silent, where the walls between what is seen and unseen begin to thin, not because of catastrophe, but because the cries from heaven have become too loud to ignore. And now, in this very moment, as your eyes fall upon these words, the sound you cannot hear with your ears but can feel in your spirit is the anguished cry of Archangel Michael himself. A cry not of judgment, but of heartbreak, not of wrath, but of urgency, because you, beloved child of God, have been walking with a burden you were never meant to carry. You've been enduring an emotional drought while spiritual waters have been waiting to pour into your life. And though the signs have been sent, though the nudges have whispered in your quiet hours, though the dreams have tried to break through the fog, you have turned your face away, not out of rebellion, but out of weariness. Not because you do not care, but because you have been afraid to hope again. And Archangel Michael, the warrior of light, the protector of divine purpose, has watched this unfold with increasing sorrow, for it has not been one day or one season, but a long stretch of time where you have quietly let your fire dim, where you have gone through the motions, where your spirit has been surrounded by a storm of doubt, and yet within the throne room of heaven, your name has never ceased to be spoken. Your face has never been forgotten, and Michael himself, mighty and revered among the heavenly hosts, has lifted his voice on your behalf, begging, pleading with the Lord of hosts to allow this message to break through the noise of the world and reach your soul with a trembling urgency, because this thing you have ignored, this truth you've been avoiding, is not small, is not trivial. It is the very thing that could change the course of your life. It is the warning, the instruction, the sacred correction that has been circling your atmosphere like a spiritual alarm waiting for you to finally pay attention. And Archangel Michael has been tasked with guarding your destiny, with protecting you from dangers both seen and unseen. But even he cannot override your free will. Even he cannot force you to listen. And so now he cries, not because you are doomed, but because time is narrowing, because the moment to act is now, because the deception around you has grown clever, silent, seductive, and it has lulled you into believing that this pace of survival, this dull ache of going through the motions, this quiet retreat from your true calling is just how life is meant to be. But heaven shouts otherwise, the angels cry otherwise, and your soul, deep beneath the layers of daily routine and human exhaustion, also knows otherwise. And that is why you have felt the inner restlessness, the strange pull towards something more, the sense that even in your moments of rest, something important is being neglected. And it is what's being neglected is the sacred assignment that was whispered into your spirit before you were ever born, the divine alignment of people and places and purpose that has been waiting on your yes. And Michael weeps because you are meant for so much more than what you have settled for. You are meant to rise, to awaken, to reclaim the authority and spiritual awareness that the enemy has tried so relentlessly to dull in you. And this is not about guilt. This is not about shame. This is about truth finally coming to find you like a lost child in a darkened room. And Archangel Michael has been dispatched not with wrath, but with compassion, holding not a sword for battle, but a trumpet of awakening, sounding the call that must reach your innermost being and shake loose the spiritual sleep that has blanketed your days, because the plans you have begun to dismiss as impossible are not dead. The doors you thought were permanently shut are not sealed. The relationships you have written off as irreparable are not beyond resurrection. But none of these things can move forward while you remain spiritually asleep, while you keep ignoring the call, while you keep turning away from the very thing that was designed to restore you, to set you ablaze with divine clarity. And even now, as this message moves through you, as you feel the weight and the energy of these words, it is not just emotion. It is your spirit recognizing the voice of truth. It is your heart beginning to thaw beneath the presence of heavens. Touch. It is Archangel Michael wrapping his light around your soul and pleading with you to finally stop running, to finally stop hiding, to stop convincing yourself that later is safe, because later is a lie, and now is the only moment that can truly change the trajectory of your path. And in this moment, right now, he is pouring everything he has into this message. His celestial strength, his loyalty to your purpose, his desperation to get you to see that your life is not meant to stay in this pattern of numbness and delay, that the vision you once carried is not gone, is only dormant, and your awakening is the one thing that can resurrect it. And even the universe has started to align opportunities, to shift timelines, to prepare blessings that are hovering like fruit just out of reach. But if you do not rise, if you do not begin to see again, if you continue to numb yourself with distraction and fear, you will miss it. And that is why Michael is crying. Not because you've failed, but because you're so close, so achingly close to the moment that could change everything, and heaven cannot intervene without your agreement. And so, this is the invitation, the warning, the breakthrough wrapped in urgency. And the choice is still yours. But if you stay, if you listen, if you open yourself even just a crack to what's coming, to what's being offered, the next parts of this message will begin to reveal secrets you were never supposed to live without, strategies that have been hidden from you until now, and gifts that are waiting to be unlocked within your soul. And yes, even miracles are on the way, if only you stop ignoring what your spirit has known all along. You were born for this awakening, and the time has come. And as the cry of Archangel Michael continues to echo through the corridors of your soul, not as a sound your ears can catch, but as a divine frequency your spirit recognizes, the veil that has been covering your understanding begins to lift, slowly but surely, because the truth you've been avoiding is not meant to hurt you. It's meant to free you. It's meant to awaken the divine intelligence within you that has been dulled by years of disappointment, distraction, and disbelief in Michael's. Tears are not like human tears. They're not salt and water, but rather currents of pure divine energy, carrying the emotion of heaven itself, washing over you now with the intensity of 1,000 suns. Because in your silence, in your delay, in your quiet refusal to look at what truly matters, entire blessings have been held back, not as punishment, but as protection. Because to receive what is next without awakening to the fullness of who you are would be more destructive than rewarding. And so, the angelic realm has waited, sometimes gently, sometimes desperately, for this moment where your heart would become tender enough to hear again, to listen not to the noise of the world, but to the original blueprint that was whispered into your spirit by God Himself before time began. And now that you have taken even this small step toward truth, the entire kingdom of heaven leans in, because what comes next is not just for comfort, it is for transformation, and Archangel Michael has seen it. He has watched the battles that have surrounded you, not only in the physical world, but in realms unseen, where entities of doubt, fear, and deception have attempted to rob you of clarity, to steal your time, to delay your ascension. And though they have been persistent, though the attacks have come in subtle and sophisticated ways, they have not succeeded. For here you are, still breathing, still seeking, still drawn to the light, even when it has hurt to hope. And that alone is proof that your soul is stronger than the shadows that have tried to claim it. And now Michael cries not only for what has been lost, but for what can still be restored. And he wants you to know, desperately know, that the windows of heaven are not closed, that the favor of God has not abandoned you, that the promises over your life are still intact, even if the timeline looks different than you imagined. And even though you feel unqualified or forgotten, heaven has been preserving your calling, guarding your destiny like a seed buried in snow, not dead, but waiting, and the thaw is coming. The warmth is here, but you must stop ignoring the signs. You must stop gaslighting your own spirit, pretending you don't feel what you feel, pretending you're not hearing what you're hearing in the quiet of your soul. Because Michael's cry is not meant to scare you. It's meant to pull you up out of the numbness, to break the spell of complacency, to lift the weight of distractions that have become a form of self-protection, and instead of letting you settle for less, heaven is pushing you to rise, to see that you are not meant to survive in this dull rhythm of obligation, but to thrive in supernatural clarity. And so listen deeply, because the thing you've been ignoring is tied to your next level, to your freedom, to the restoration of relationships you've grieved over, to the opportunities you thought you missed, to the joy you feared would never return. And Michael has watched the moments you almost said yes, the times you were about to step into alignment, but got pulled back by fear or logic or exhaustion. And every time he stood by your side, waiting, crying, hoping you'd come back to your senses and remember who you are, a child of the Most High God, not meant for cycles of self-doubt, but for circles of divine impact, not meant to be hidden in the background, but to rise in authority and presence. And the longer you delay this shift, the more distorted your perception becomes. Because the enemy specializes in convincing you that delay means denial, that silence means absence, that your waiting means you were overlooked. But that is a lie, a toxic distortion meant to keep you passive, because the truth is, your delay has only increased the intensity of the blessings that are due to you, like a dam holding back floodwaters. And now that your heart is opening, now that you're reading this not just with curiosity, but with holy hunger, heaven is moving, timelines are accelerating, angels are realigning things behind the scenes, and you are being invited not only to watch it unfold, but to become the instrument through which divine energy flows again, because your gifts were never gone, they were buried, and your intuition was never broken. It was suppressed, and your favor was never revoked. It was protected until you were ready. And Michael's cry is turning now, not just of sorrow, but of hope, because he sees your heart beginning to remember, to reclaim, to reconnect with the version of you that knew how to dream, how to trust, how to walk in faith instead of fear. And this reconnection will not happen by accident. It will require decision. It will require surrender. It will require that you say out loud, "Yes, I'm ready. Yes, I believe again. Yes, I will stop ignoring the signs." And when you do, things will begin to shift at a speed that defies logic. Not because God is just now starting to bless you, but because you are finally in position to receive what has always been yours. And that is the awakening Michael has been weeping for. Not just the emotional stirrings of a moment, but the divine pivot of a lifetime. And in the next part of this message, what has been hidden from you will begin to be revealed. Not just emotionally, but practically, not just spiritually, but strategically, because God is not only speaking through the angels. He is about to show you something that will change everything. And now, as the atmosphere begins to tremble with the weight of what is unfolding, you must understand that Archangel Michael's tears have not been in vain, for they have soaked the soil of your destiny with divine intervention, softening the hardened places within you that life has tried to seal shut. And though you have spent so long pretending not to feel the inner urgency, the cosmic discomfort, the sacred discontent rising inside of you like waves against a dam, the truth is you have always known deep in your gut that something was waiting, something greater, something purer, something far more real than the routine you've numbed yourself with. And Michael has been crying not to manipulate, but to warn, not to guilt you, but to rescue you. And his cry is joined now by the rhythm of heaven's heartbeat pulsing through this message, through this very moment. As the veil lifts further, your soul begins to recognize that what you've called anxiety has often been misdirected energy. Divine instruction screaming through your nervous system because your spirit has been trying to wake you up, trying to get you to break the patterns, to stop living in delay, to stop pushing away the guidance that heaven has sent you over and over in the form of intuitive nudges, unexpected roadblocks, sudden dreams, whispers of wisdom that you are too busy to catch or too tired to chase. And now, as the angel's lament grows louder in your spirit, you're no longer being asked to casually reflect or to vaguely consider change. You are being commanded by heaven to respond, because what is approaching you now in the spiritual realm is not just a new opportunity or a season of favor, but a divine reversal of everything the enemy has used to hold you hostage. And if you do not rise, if you do not lean in, if you let this moment pass you like another fleeting signpost, you will not only feel regret, you will forfeit something that cannot be replaced because the assignment tied to your name is not transferable. The blessings are not interchangeable. And Michael is crying because heaven has been holding space for you. God has been holding miracles in suspension, waiting for your agreement, your yes, your shift, and the clock is ticking, not as a scare tactic, but as a sacred truth that divine timing waits for no one once alignment is offered. And you must understand that the reason you have been so exhausted, so empty, so distracted is because there has been spiritual warfare, not around you, but within you, trying to dull your gifts, to bury your discernment, to silence the voice inside that used to hear God so clearly. But the good news is that the tears of Michael are not passive. They are powerful. They have pierced the heavens and called down reinforcements. And now angels are circling your situation. But you must become aware, because heaven cannot fight for someone who refuses to open their eyes, who refuses to wield the authority they were born with. And if you've been wondering why your prayers feel unanswered, why your clarity feels foggy, why your confidence feels stolen, it's because this war has been raging in stealth, in shadows, and now the time has come to see clearly, to hear the truth that's been chasing you, to accept the weight of your own divine significance. And Michael weeps because every time you say, "I'm not ready," or maybe later, or "Who am I to believe that God would choose me?" another day is lost, another door closes. Another soul misses the message that only you were meant to carry. And you must understand, yes, you. There are people whose healing is tied to your obedience, whose prayers are waiting for your awakening, and the longer you pretend not to know, the longer you deny your gifts, the longer you minimize your spiritual inheritance, the longer they stay bound, the longer you stay stuck. And Michael is not crying to shame you. He is crying to show you that you still have time, that this window is still open, but not forever, because the spiritual realm moves in cycles. And if you do not move with it, you get left behind, not abandoned by God, but delayed by your own hesitation. And heaven is too urgent now for you to keep walking blind. Too much is at stake. Too many miracles are hanging in the balance. And even now, as you sit with these words flowing like fire through your chest, you know something is happening. You know this is more than emotion. This is revelation. This is God speaking in a language deeper than words, through tears you didn't know you'd cry, through thoughts you didn't know you'd face. And that is the voice of truth reclaiming its place inside you. That is Archangel Michael standing behind you with wings stretched wide, surrounding your soul in protection and thunder, saying, "You can't ignore this anymore. Not because you're in danger, but because you're overdue for your deliverance, and this is the moment you choose. This is the moment where something either breaks open or breaks down, and the heavens are watching, not with judgment, but with holy anticipation, because when you finally say yes, when you finally surrender, when you finally say, "I believe again," the wave that comes will not be mild. It will be seismic. It will be a flood of blessings that washes away years of delay, a divine recalibration that pulls everything back into position. And that's what Michael has been waiting for, crying for, fighting for, the moment where you remember who you are and who sent you, the moment where you let go of survival and step into assignment. And in the next part of this message, the final veils will begin to fall. The specific truth you've been blind to will be named. The source of the spiritual resistance will be exposed. And what happens next will not just move you, it will mark you forever. And now, as the heavens open wider and the final seals begin to crack beneath the intensity of your awakening, the sobs of Archangel Michael reach their highest pitch, not as cries of despair, but as the holy sound of victory that has been waiting for you to arrive, to finally cross the invisible threshold you've stood before for far too long. because this was never just about a feeling. This was never just about you being emotional for a moment and returning to sleep. This was about an ancient, divine appointment, something sacred etched into the structure of your soul before your bones were formed. And now the time has come to face what you've feared, to embrace what you've denied, and to step boldly into the calling you have danced around, delayed, ignored, buried under excuses, heartbreak, and distractions. And you need to hear this clearly. Not one more moment can be lost. Not one more hour surrendered to the enemy of your purpose. Because while you've been hesitating, forces beyond this dimension have been conspiring to keep you blind, using people you love, using voices that seemed logical, using systems designed to keep you small. And now that veil is being ripped in half, not with ease, but with divine force, because God has decided that this is the hour of exposure. This is the moment where what was hidden will be seen, where the deception around you will be broken apart like fragile glass. And Michael's cry is now a war cry, shaking your atmosphere, commanding every angel under heaven to encircle you with protection, because what is being revealed next will shake you. Yes, it will challenge every narrative you've believed. It will confront you with the truth of who you've become versus who you were born to be. And that confrontation will be painful, but necessary, because God loves you too much to let you stay asleep in a time of awakening, too much to let you live small in a season of divine eruption, too much to allow the enemy to steal one more day from your destiny. And if you think this message is just emotional noise, then hear this clearly. The reason your spirit is trembling is because heaven has just walked into the room, because God has chosen this very moment to speak louder than your fear, louder than your logic, louder than every voice that said, "Not you," every scar that said you're broken, every mistake that whispered you're disqualified, because none of that has power in the presence of divine order. And you are now stepping into a window so rare, so sacred, that even the angels bow their heads in reverence, because few are ever brave enough to walk through it. And yet you, yes, you are being chosen again, despite your past, despite your doubts, despite how far you feel from holiness, because your calling was never based on your perfection, but on God's decision. And that decision is final. And what you do in this moment will shape not just the next weeks or months, but the very architecture of your life. And as Michael's voice bellows across your soul, as his mighty wings stretch wider than the sky, he is showing you everything that has been waiting: visions, relationships, resources, favor, prophetic downloads, healing, supernatural encounters, assignments so profound they will redefine your understanding of reality itself. But you cannot access any of it until you make the pivot, until you break the cycle, until you stop bowing to comfort and rise into alignment. And if you're wondering how, if you're asking what you need to do, hear this with urgency. Stop hesitating, stop delaying, stop scrolling past the voice of God like it's casual content, and start listening like your life depends on it, because it does. And this is the moment where heaven is calling you by name, where angels are waiting for your yes, where Michael is declaring over your life a divine acceleration so powerful that time itself will seem to bend in your favor, where what should have taken years will happen in weeks, where what seemed impossible will now become inevitable. But only if you stop ignoring the signs, only if you admit that this message is not random, only if you realize that this video didn't find you. You were guided to it, marked for it, chosen to receive it. And if you're still listening, if you haven't clicked away, then congratulations, because you are one of the few who were spiritually ready to hear it. And because of your obedience, because of your openness, a blessing beyond. Comprehension is now unlocking in your name. And as Michael wipes away his last tears, as his voice steadies, as the atmosphere begins to shimmer with heaven's approval, he whispers this final instruction from the throne of God. Prepare yourself, because within the next 48 hours, a divine confirmation will be sent to you. Something undeniable, something miraculous, something that will feel like the sky breaking open above your life. And when it comes, you will know without a shadow of a doubt that this message was not emotionalism or manipulation or coincidence, but a sacred moment ordained by God Himself to awaken you, restore you, and remind you that heaven has never forgotten you, not for a single second. And if you stay faithful, if you act boldly, if you do not let fear swallow your next steps, then not only will your life change, but you will become the change others are crying out for. And your legacy will echo with the voice of angels, because you finally answered the call, because you finally listened, because you finally stopped ignoring the cry of Michael and the cry of your own soul.